I'm reviewing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2 is the latest horror film from Jagged Edge Productions. It is directed by Reese Frake Waterfield. It stars Scott Chambers, Ryan Oliva, and Tallulah Evans. I am not going to be as spoiler-free as I typically am, but I promise that I won't ruin the end of the film. Considering the type of film, I don't think it's gonna ruin it much for you. The filmmakers have also announced an entire new universe called the Twisted Childhood Universe, TCU. Clever, actually, that will be an umbrella for multiple films, such as the Poohniverse, Monsters Assemble, Bambi the Reckoning, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, Pinocchio Unstrung, and the recently announced Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3, or 3. It's 3. It's not tres, it's 3. I mean, it is tres, but it's actually just 3. Or they're gonna do the 3 eyes, or the 3 slashes, which is probably what it's gonna be. Yeah. If you watched my worst horror films of 2023, then you know that my #1 least favorite film of 2023 was Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And that was well warranted. And it really isn't much of a shock because it was at the top of a ton of reviewers' lists. Thankfully, you don't have to see the first film to be able to watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, because the film gives you the backstory at the beginning with the cool animation like they had previously. The movie begins with Christopher Robin. This is a different Christopher Robin from the last film, and he's just fine. Because as it turns out, the last film was just a film within a film. So basically we can kind of wash ourselves clean of the last film. And I think that was a very, very smart and clever decision. But it is a recreation of what supposedly happened to Christopher Robin, although it's dramatized, of course. Because of the 100 Acre Woods massacre, some people have seen the film, some people believe Christopher Robin, and some people do not believe Christopher Robin. They think that he actually did it. The people who do believe Christopher Robin and believe that there are these creatures out there in the woods have slowly decided to encroach upon the creatures of the 100 Acre Wood, going section by section, burning it, and reaching ever closer to the cast of creatures that we have in this film. Because, of course, they realize that they are now being hunted, they decide to be proactive and go out and attack the humans surrounding them in order to protect themselves, which actually makes sense. I mean, you're coming in and attacking their lands and like running them out of their homes, so they are just trying to get ahead of the war or the fight that they see coming. Since this is a reboot or a restart or a refresh, they were able to pretty much have a blank canvas moving forward, and they did decide to explain the origins of Pooh and Friends, which I really loved. And I actually mentioned this in my worst films. I didn't make a review of it, but when I talked about how I felt about the film, I felt that they are this. They seem like they're half human and half bear and half this. It's super weird. And as it turns out, they did decide to take it in that direction. It makes a lot of sense. And it also makes it very personal to the people involved in the film. We have a new Christopher Robin with Scott Chambers, and let me tell you, I love him. He's precious. He does such a great job. Actually, a lot of the acting, pretty much almost all of the acting in this film, I actually had no issue with, which is shocking for an indie film. But he's definitely a standout. This is a difficult movie to unpack because I disliked the first film so much, but to be completely honest with you, I only watched it one time and never bothered to go back, and I've almost kind of forgotten most of it. frankly. I watch a lot of movies and I don't have enough bandwidth in my brain to keep all of them in there. So I was going into this with fresh eyes. Now, I need to say something before I really get into the meat of this. One of the things that I should mention is I am a huge fan of full moon features. When I was a kid, I watched the full moon movies and I loved them. Like, I really loved them. And they are part campy and part serious. They're tonally up and down. They shift. They're not nearly as good in the gore area of this film. So when I say that I actually really did enjoy this film a lot, that is the perspective that I am coming from. I am not coming from and judging it based on the last film that I barely remember. I am judging it purely based on the fact that I like films like full moon films. I like Puppet Master. I like lots of the Puppet Master films. I like Subspecies. I like a lot of these films that maybe to some would be questionable quality. And they are not full campy films. They do. Charles Band really does try to put these sentimental moments throughout his films. And that's the way this film feels to me. Is it campy? Yes, it's definitely campy at times. I mean, and it almost goes into grindhouse at just subtle points during the gore. This film is not for everybody. A lot of people will think this film is too gory or too tortury. It's definitely not Terrifier levels of gore, but it's gorier than a lot of films that I've seen. So for people who don't like gore, these films are not for you. This film is definitely a slasher. It is a wonderful slasher film with 4 different villains, and they all have different personalities. You have Pooh. He almost feels like Michael Myers, but then he feels like he becomes Leatherface later on because he literally grabs a chainsaw, which is fun. I mean, I'm down with that. Then you have Piglet. Doesn't have much of a personality, and if you see the film, you'll understand what I'm saying. And then we have Tigger, who is Freddy Krueger, very obviously Freddy Krueger, and I loved it. I love the way he moves around. There's some questionable video effects in here, VFX, whatever. I don't care. And then we have Owl, who is clearly Pinhead. I love Pinhead, and you know I love Pinhead if you watch my Hellraiser or Days of the Dead. I love Pinhead. Owl made me laugh every time he came on the screen, though. I honestly am not sure if they meant for his moments to be really serious or funny. So he kind of looks like the witches of the 80s, the Angelica Houston one. Actually, that's a lot like what he looks with wings, and I liked it. We focused so heavily on Christopher Robin. I think that I would have enjoyed spending more time with Tigger and Owl, chilling. I don't know, I don't care. I mean, I'll chill with them. They seem dope as shit. I didn't even have to turn my brain off to enjoy this. So there's movies where you have to go, you gotta turn your brain off to enjoy it. No, it's not like that. Now, I will say it's very heavy on the lore. Really quite heavy on the lore. So heavy on the lore, actually, that it kind of dragged for a bit. I think had they shaved about 10 minutes off the film, and there's multiple editing places where they could have done that it would have improved the pace and made the movie feel a lot better. There are a ton of other homages like throughout the film, like there's a Chucky kill scene. There's one that I feel like was kind of akin to the trampoline scene from Thanksgiving. And if you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Even though it's not a trampoline, but I felt like it felt like that. I could be wrong. Something that's awesome is that I am in a horror movie called Backward Creep where I play the villain. I'm typically cast as the villain because apparently I'm quite scary. I am like the nicest and sweetest and kindest person. I really am. Oddly enough, there was 2 scenes that I saw that reminded me of my film, and one is Owl, and my character is kind of like a doll, but she has like these fingers and she just goes right for the eye. So that kind of reminded me of one of my movies. I'm sure that was not based on my film, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I don't see that very often because it's a difficult effect to pull off, stabbing someone in their eyes, but we had a really amazing special effects artist. and a really amazing director, Christopher G. Moore, on that. So he managed to pull off an amazing effect, which was sick. Gore is very, very expensive. So for an indie film, that's impressive. I really only have a few negative things to say about this film. And one of them is that it drags at a point when they get into this lore. I liked some of it. I was like, okay, yeah. But there were a couple scenes that I was like, okay, I'm tired of listening to this dude. Also, some of the editing was odd. Like during some of the fight scenes, you didn't know what was happening. I don't know why, but sometimes I was like, okay, I'm with you. And then all of a sudden, it's like it zoomed in or something, and I couldn't see what was happening. And then you see kind of the aftermath, and I was like, how did that happen? It's small snippets throughout the film, and it's not in every scene. So if you don't like the Terrifier films, I don't think you're gonna like this film. It's not as heavy as the Terrifier films, and it's not as gory, even close, as the Terrifier films, and it's not as, doesn't have that same intensity.
This is not the same thing.
But I still feel like it's a little harsher. And so I think that if you don't like that, I would avoid this one for you. But if you like a little bit more aggressive slasher films, I think that this could be fun for you. Even with me really enjoying this film, I don't think that all of the upcoming films are gonna be winners, because I will judge them on their own merit alone. And I'm not gonna like them if they're turds, so don't give me turds. As I mentioned, I feel like these films feel like Full Moon Productions from the 90s. And I think that if Jagged Edge Productions positioned themselves properly, I absolutely see them being the Full Moon Productions for this new generation. Now, the films are a better quality, the stories are better, and the effects and gore are heavier. And I love that. I know a lot of people don't like this film. I already knew that the ratings were bad. Like they were apparently like 100% at one point, and then I just didn't have time to check them for a long time, and now they've dropped. And so I didn't go into this with high expectations, but it's a lot better than most indie films I've seen. You know what's funny about this? I would not even go as far to say that this movie is so bad that it's good, because I don't think it's bad. I just think it's good. Take that for what you will. Plenty of people are gonna hate this film, and you can ream me all you want because you didn't like it, but everyone has a different opinion. So I liked it. I feel like if you go in with middle of the road expectations as like, you know, a decent indie slasher, then I think that you'll be happy. Are you going to watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2? Did you see the first film? How do you feel about the upcoming Twisted Childhood universe? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I really do hope that you have the most amazing day, my spooky darlings. I would like to thank my Patreon members so very, very, very much. I want to say thank you for supporting me and supporting my channel by joining my Patreon. Chris Mizictino, Jimmy Horror, Janie McLaren, Jose Reyes, Phil Smith, Jim Kemmerling, and Deal Demon. You are all so very wonderful, and I appreciate it so very, very much. And you are my spooky darlings, and I love you dearly. And I appreciate you helping me to keep making content. Like pigs to the slaughter. Let your fingers do the walking. There, you know, right? A film within this film. Yes, it was a film within a film.